Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1, action.
Assume nothing.
Brash, bald-faced blasphemy.
Question everything.
I find it extremely hard to imagine.
Open your eyes.
It is quite all right to be an atheist.
The fastest growing group of people in the country has been measured as being those who have no belief or who are atheists.
You don't have to be apologetic or quiet about it.
Challenge the opposition.
You see religion on 100 fronts losing the argument.
And start thinking. This is The Thinking Atheist Worldwide.
Our broadcast today brought to you by NatureBox. NatureBox ships tasty and guilt-free snacks right to your door with over 100 different flavors that you can choose from, like the garlic plantains and the strawberry Greek yogurt pretzels and the lemon tea biscuits, the honey Dijon pretzels, and more. Log on and start your free trial tonight. Go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. naturebox.com/Thinking Atheist. You probably have seen on social media over the last few weeks many people coming forward on Facebook and Twitter saying, I am openly secular. And this is part of a recent campaign from a website and an organization called Openly Secular, as people are encouraged just to come forward and say, look, I am a secular individual. I'm not a religious person. And it's a way to break down barriers. It's a great way to create dialogue and communication. And the website is openlysecular.org. Well, on the show tonight, I'm going to talk to a veteran television personality who just posted his own openly secular video. His name is John Davidson, been on television off and on for the last 50 years. He was one of the hosts of That's Incredible. He guest hosted for Johnny Carson during the era of The Tonight Show. He was a game show host on Hollywood Squares, and he's done a bunch of other stuff, including stage performances across the country and around the world. And he's going to be my special guest in just a little bit as we talk to him about why he came out as openly secular. But first, my first special guest, you probably have seen his name, and he's been really involved in the free thought movement for years now. His name is Todd Stiefel. He graduated from Duke University. He worked for a dozen years for Stiefel Laboratories, and now he's a full-time activist, a secular humanist, and he's out there making waves and helping to make things happen in the name of reason. And Todd Stiefel joins me on the air tonight. Todd, thanks for being here. Great to have you.
Great to be here.
So you're a busy guy. I mean, I see your name bandied about. We're involved in some cause. There's going to be a convention thing, and somebody involved is Todd Stiefel. Stiefel, he's everywhere. What drives all this activism that's going on with you?
You know, I'm passionate about it. I mean, that's the real thing. But when my brother was my best man at my wedding, and he, in his speech, he said that Todd doesn't do anything halfway, which I guess is kind of true. I really don't. I'm not good at doing things halfway. It's actually a strength and a weakness, but I'm passionate about the cause. I want to help the world and make it a better place. And I think this is one of the best ways to help eliminate discrimination against a marginalized group, help protect civil liberties, and help protect the world from crazy people who want to blow us up.
That's often hard for partners and spouses and family members, right? Do you have a hard time with balance in your life, as many activists do?
I'm really crappy at work-life balance.
Let's put your wife on, Todd.
Yeah. She'll tell you. Yeah, we're on vacation. I'm going off on the computer and doing email every day. Yeah, I'm not so good at work-life balance. I never have been. I'm keenly aware that I should be, but I am not. But fortunately, my wife is incredibly supportive.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I mean, when I started all this, she was a Christian. Her beliefs are she's moving more to the kind of nun side of things at this point. But, it's kind of interesting when you're setting out to be essentially a free thought activist. And it's like, hey, honey, are you willing to support me in this? And by the way, I'm going to be doing this full blast. This is going to be 100%. And she's been awesome. She's supported me the whole way.
So have you always been secular and probably more importantly, openly secular?
No. I grew up raised Catholic, kind of liberal Catholic, but raised Catholic. I even voluntarily, for whatever reason, went to an all-boys Catholic high school. And I wore a cross around my neck all the way up till college.
So did you have to work through the Catholic guilt and all that stuff as you busted out, or was that a pretty easy break for you?
It was pretty easy. I mean, I was a skeptic the whole time. I mean, certainly thought, though, much of the Old Testament was silly and Noah's Ark and all that stuff. But I maintained a belief in God and Jesus. And I think because I wasn't a fundamentalist, and because in a lot of ways the Catholic Church itself is more liberal than some other denominations on many issues, certainly not all. But for me, it was really in college. I went to Duke University, and one of the electives I took was an Old Testament history in the divinity school. And that one undergrad elective course really was powerful, because in Catholic school, yeah, we did have to take Bible study and learn about religion, but sometimes the answers didn't always fully make sense. And suddenly taking it at the Duke Divinity School was like, oh, well, these answers actually make sense. The historical critical method is a way to actually understand some of these things. And holy moly, like, they're teaching me how these myths evolved and what other more ancient myths influenced them, and how things changed, and how God even changed throughout the Old Testament, and how the angels often were, other pagan gods co-opted into the faith, and there's actually other gods in the Bible, and all that stuff a lot of atheists are aware of. Learning that stuff just kind of clicked the light. Like, wait a minute, all these doubts I've had all this time, when the answers didn't make sense before, well, they're making sense now. And so that was the end of it for me.
How did you get involved with Openly Secular?
It actually goes back a few years. I was on the Richard Dawkins Foundation board a few years ago, and they have the OUT campaign, the scarlet letter A they use. And Richard's been a big advocate of that, even in the God Delusion. And Robin Cornwell, who's there, helped come up with the OUT campaign and really promote it. It was her idea. And so while I was there, I really wanted to help ramp it up and get it bigger and take a lot more pages from the LGBT movement's playbook. And the organization wasn't ready at the time. But things have changed and progressed, and now the movement's ready, the organization is ready. And so really the Openly Secular is OUT Campaign 2.0. It is the OUT campaign with a whole bunch of added pieces and with market research to back it up, to help hone our messaging, help hone how we do it, who we reach out to. And so I guess I'm the chair of the campaign, and I helped get it jump-started.
I like the fact that it seems inviting and inclusive. It's not a middle finger to religion. It's not necessarily taking on the harder aspects of the argument against religion, and those arguments need to happen. But I like the fact that it's like, hey, it's okay. You're secular? Oh, awesome. We encourage you to say something about it. I mean, is that a concentrated, is that like a deliberate kind of an angle that you guys are taking?
Absolutely. I mean, I totally agree. The religion debate needs to happen, and there's certainly areas where we're going to disagree strongly with the religious side, but I think there's certain areas where we can agree a lot. And when it comes to discrimination and biasing against atheists, I think that's an area where we can build a lot of bridges with the other side, and frankly, discriminating against them too. We don't have to agree with each other's ideas to still treat each other kindly. And I think the only people who would really disagree with this would be some of the more fundamentalist Christians, but 90% of America can get behind a concept of eliminating discrimination, increasing acceptance. And we very intentionally went in, and when we did our market research, we did surveys and focus groups, and we looked at both potential religious allies and secular people. And we tested a lot of different messaging and used that as a way to really find things that would speak to both sides.
I want to address the issue of discrimination with you for just a second. Many people are often talking about the law, and the law obviously is important, but in so many cases, discrimination happens between the lines of the law when you can't really nail it down. You can't really put your finger on it. It's subtle, it's covert. And those instances of discrimination really require a change in attitude, really a cultural shift. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. That's what really openly secular is about. It's about creating a cultural shift, and it's about making people's lives easier, and it's about really just trying to gain respect and social acceptance. I mean, I think that while a lot of the debates are really important, and I've been involved in them myself, it can be really hard to get your point across to people who don't respect you. If they don't have respect for you, if they think you're immoral, their defense systems are already up. They are not listening. They are very, very hard to influence in any way. And while personally I don't really care a whole lot about deconverting people, I do care about influencing religious people in a way that they are thinking more critically and less fundamentalist. I want them to feel free to believe what you want to believe, but don't try to use the government to push it down our throats. Don't try to blow up airplanes, things like that.
Yeah,
and
sure. Stop scaring kids with it. Just chill. Right.
And I think some of them can understand those points, but they're not going to understand them coming from us unless they have respect for us. And so a lot of what I think we need to accomplish is gaining that respect, gaining that point where we're out there, we are prevalent, people see us, people know us, they know we're good, decent people, and they're willing to engage in discussions. And I think that's where we'll really start making more of a difference in the longer term.
Talking here with Todd Stiefel. I know we're going to talk to John Davidson, the veteran television personality, here in just a few. Who else do you have? I mean, do you have some people approaching you going, oh, geez, I got to be a part of this? I mean, do you have like a list of recognizable names yet, or is that yet to happen?
So we've got videos from Chris Kluwe, the NFL punter, from Barney Frank, former U.S. congressman. We've got Penn and Teller. We've got, who else? There's a bunch of Julia Sweeney, John Davidson, of course, and Bill Maher. So we've got quite a few celebrities so far with videos and support. We're certainly reaching out to others. We have 2 that are films that we haven't released yet, and I won't say who they are yet. Don't want to get out of the bag, but we've got a fair number of celebrities who've backed us, but that's frankly one of the hardest parts. There are consequences. There are people who do not want to join the campaign because they're afraid of the repercussions, and especially for celebrities, because a lot of times their name is their brand, and their brand is their career. So if you go out and do something risky, go out and do something that potentially might annoy part of the base of people who support your career, that can have risks. So stepping up to support secular people, even in a campaign is as warm and fuzzy as the branding of openly secular is, it has some risks. So we're trying hard to get more celebrities, but it can be challenging.
I would wonder if you end up at a point in your career where either you've got enough money and security that, hey, what the hell, right? Who cares what anybody else thinks? Or you're old enough that, who cares? What the hell? I wonder, just as a social experiment, I often wonder about how those two factors come into play. Because if you are depending on your next check, and the people who might be writing it could easily write you off if they found out you were a non-believer in their deity or any deity or whatever, I mean, it would be a little sobering for sure.
It's an interesting point. And, I would have thought the same thing and have been a little surprised at how even some people in a position where there probably won't be significant enough consequences, at least relative to, if their revenues drop off 10% as a result, oh, whoops. So I pull in 30 million next year rather than 33. Surprisingly, even with them, it can be hard. It can be very hard and intimidating. So, and I get it. I mean, I wasn't open about my lack of belief during my business career. There was a few people who knew, but we had plants in Brazil and Pakistan. Those are pretty religious countries. I didn't want to cause a challenge for the other people in the business. It wasn't just about me. If I cause a huge rift, that can hurt other people's jobs and other shareholders' worth. So I get it. It's not everybody's in a position where they can be open.
The celebrities get a lot of the press. The celebrities, the faces, the names, the people that we like to put up front. Oh, look who we have. And I know we're all guilty of doing that. And I get excited about some big name guests who come on the show. But it is the everyday people. It's just all of us who are out there in the machine living our lives as part of this society that, doesn't make the headlines, that isn't on television, that isn't in film, that isn't famous, quote unquote. It's real people that make the openly secular campaign what it is. And if you would, I'd like you to speak to that, Todd.
Absolutely. That's exactly the case. Our goal right from the beginning was to have mostly videos, in terms of at least the video portion of the campaign, that were from just everyday people. And one specific thing we wanted was a very diverse range of people. We wanted young, old, more melanin, less melanin. We wanted male, female, just across the board. We wanted to try to represent that people who fall into this unaffiliated category, whether they call themselves non-religious, atheist, agnostic, I don't care what it is, we're all over the place, and we're very diverse, and we're the person who you work with, or your neighbor, or your family member. And so while the celebrity videos are great at drawing more eyes and are much more likely to go viral or get media coverage, which is important too, because this is about changing hearts and minds and building that awareness. But it's those everyday people that really help to humanize and to help people understand. And we hope when people do videos for us that they'll share it with their friends and family and help spread the message that way.
Well, I've got, so many people in the listening audience. Let's say they want to be openly secular and they want to be a part of what you're about, what the website's about. Do they create a video? Do they send an email? Do they write a blog? How does someone sort of add their name to the list?
All of the above. I mean, this is really about getting the word out there as far and wide as possible. So you could start at openlysecular.org. And there you can find our resources we develop. We've got guides on how to become open if you're in a specific minority group. We've got leave behinds you can give to your parents or spouse if you're becoming open, so they can understand you better and hopefully reduce the chances of a negative reaction. We've got a section on there where you can submit a video. If you record a video and put it up on YouTube, you can submit it to us and we can link to it, put it on our channel. Blogging, social media, just getting the word out there, helping people understand we're just as likely to be good and decent as anyone else. And maybe a little more so, but...
or at least for the right reasons, right? Not because an eye in the sky is telling us so. Hey, don't murder today. Go help someone today. We're doing it just for goodness sake, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Exactly. So, yeah, you can get involved by blogging, videoing. Just post something. Get involved. When we do our Openly Secular Day, be sure to post that day. Change your avatars and profile pictures to the Openly Secular logo and write into your editor. Do op-eds. Try to, get involved with your local free thought community. Go do charity work in the name of your local free thought community. I mean, there's lots of ways to be involved in both the campaign and the greater free thought movement that can really help change the perception and eliminate that discrimination.
Todd Stiefel, man, I'm so glad you spent a few minutes with us to talk about this extremely worthy thing. I know it sounds kind of canned sometimes when you say, be a part of this, because we host, we'll do that from time to time. But I look at Openly Secular and I think, what a great idea. It's just so palatable to those who might freak out at the word atheist or even agnostic. But if you say I'm openly secular, the way you guys have sort of created the website, the temperature of the conversation that you're having, I think is just right. So I'll make sure that the website is linked in the description box of this podcast. And thanks for all the great work you're doing out there in the name of reason. It means a lot, man.
Thanks for having me on the show and everything you're doing, Seth. Appreciate it.
Before we get into our next conversation with John Davidson, veteran television host, I want to say a huge thanks out to tonight's show sponsor, which is, of course, NatureBox. NatureBox has been on the radio with me for months now, and I'm so glad they're here because they are doing something really, really cool. They're providing healthy and really good-tasting snacks online and then delivering those to your door. Over 100 different options to choose from, like the white truffle popcorn or the sriracha roasted cashews, the Big Island pineapple, the Greek yogurt pretzels, so many to choose from. You just load up your online pantry and they ship them for free right to your door. 0 artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, 0 grams trans fats, and no high fructose corn syrup. Thank you for supporting this show, and thanks for supporting NatureBox. You can log on and start your free trial tonight. Just go to naturebox.com/Thinking Atheist. naturebox.com/Thinking Atheist. My second special guest on the broadcast today is John Davidson, veteran TV personality, singer, actor, game show host. I used to watch him on That's Incredible. I know he hosted Hollywood Squares in the 80s. He was on the revival of the $100,000 Pyramid, which aired in the early 90s, and he's been on the stage as a performer and musician in the decades since. He does come from a religious home, but recently has said he is not religious. I was curious, and so I asked him to join me on the radio tonight. John Davidson, so glad you're here. Great to have you.
Thanks, Seth. I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm glad to be a part of it.
You know, I don't know how to tell you this because I'm not sure how it's received. Because when someone tells me, Seth, I listened to you when I was a kid, this conflict happens inside of me, right? Part of me is flattered, and I think, you're wonderful, thank you so much. And part of me thinks, you little shit. I'm not that old, right? But John, I used to watch you on That's Incredible. I watched you on Hollywood Squares, and I was in my youth at that time. So I feel like I really have this connection with so much of the material that you did, even in those decades. So I don't know, how does that make you feel when somebody says, I listened or watched when I was a kid?
Oh, I appreciate it. I think that's part of the thrill as you get older is how you have touched people's lives. And I've gotten amazing stories from people that watched me late at night taking over for Johnny Carson, and I did that a lot, and amazing stories about what they were doing while they were watching me late at night. and That's Incredible was such a phenomenal show. It was a big hit for 5 years. It was a top 5 show, and that's probably my biggest hit. So I'm very appreciative that people watched it, and most of the time I was proud of the show. And Hollywood Squares, we had so many celebrity guests that I can't even, often celebrities, I'll see them at a thing, and I say, gee, I never met you, I've admired your work, and they say, oh, yes, you did, I was on Hollywood Squares, and I've forgotten. So I'm very thankful when people remember those shows. It feels a little bit like another life, I have to say, because I've been doing this for 50 years, and so I feel like, who was that guy? And you make a lot of mistakes in life, and so it's never all good, it's never all bad, and I'm appreciative of people watching.
Though you see a lot of people who are beginning to do some of the things that you had done, or they're just starting out, they're just, and you want to literally like download. When I was 18 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old, you couldn't tell me anything, right? I had the world, had the tiger by the tail. And now I think, if only I could go back and find my younger self and just kind of give him the wider picture. I'm talking like my parents in that way, John?
I've always, I must say, my problem is I've been more of a sponge. I think I was maybe sometimes too open to taking ideas. I would ask the elevator operator and the gal that came in to clean the room what she thought of something that I was doing, and I might have been too open to suggestions. I've never been that sure of myself, quite honestly, and I think when I see that quality in young performers, that openness and that willingness to take direction and to take new ideas, that's what I like to see in a young performer, someone who is open to new ideas. So, that's very exciting when I see that in a young performer.
I want to go back to That's Incredible. And for those who aren't familiar with the show, it really was in many ways a precursor to many of the kinds of things that we now share on social media, we see on YouTube. This is an amazing thing. Have you seen this video? Have you seen this clip? Have you seen this stunt or this ability or this event that happened? Long before the internet, That's Incredible was doing and highlighting that kind of thing.
It was. It came along about the same time as Real People. And so those two shows were, for the first time, spotlighting real people on TV doing amazing things. That's Incredible was supposed to celebrate human triumph over mental and physical obstacles and people going the extra mile. And it was at its best when it did that. I think it was the beginning of reality television. But, of course, looking back on it, it was so mild now. We would do stories about people with bees, like a beekeeper with bees all over his body. And nowadays, people would be eating the bees, and living off of the bees. But it was at its worst, or it was at its most vulnerable state when it did stories about ESP and ghosts and things, and it never. It said, "What do you think? What do you think there are ghosts? Do you think there's ESP, whatever?" And we did a lot of stories featuring people who just wanted to be on TV, and they were fooling people. They were charlatans. They were the Uri Gellers, the people that were really magicians, but they actually were trying to make people believe that their magic was real, that they could actually do these things. So, and we never pulled down their pants. And we never said, "Wait a minute, the emperor is naked. You're a phony." So we never said that. So I didn't like. Fran Tarkington was the other host of the show, and Kathy Lee Crosby, and it was a great time for me to spend time, especially with Fran. He and I are both preachers' kids, and we came from that background. And Fran Tarkington, of course, was the famous football quarterback for the Vikings, and he had a lot of locker room stories. I'd never been that kind of a guy, so that was great for me, and we became great buddies, and we're still close today.
How much editorial control did you have with That's Incredible? I mean, if you saw something and it kind of made you shrug a little bit, you weren't sure. I mean, did you guys get involved in the process, in the vetting process at all?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we had the easiest job in show business. The great team of producers would go out and get these stories. We rarely went out and did actual interviews, on the street or on the scene with people. They would prepare these videos, and we would then meet the people in the studio after the video had been done, most of the time. And so we came in at the last minute after it had already been done. No, we had no control over the content. I don't know that I've ever had control over content in my show. Maybe when I had my talk show, I took over for Mike Douglas in the daytime for 2 years and did a daytime talk show. I had a little more control there, but really, like when I sat in for Carson, the Tonight Show decides the guests, and I've had really very little control over that. Nowadays, you see Oprah, and Oprah runs it. You see Phil Donahue, and Phil Donahue, well, not anymore, but runs it. And you see Ellen DeGeneres, and she seems to run the whole show. In those days, I came in like a Mike Douglas or like I don't know what to compare it to, but no, I didn't have that sort of control. I was a working host, and I think that has made those shows better when the host really puts his or her imprint on it. You have to take control of it. Maybe that's why my show only lasted 2 years, because I should have taken more control, and then it becomes more personal.
Talking here with John Davidson. So when did the skeptic in you start to really emerge, or at least resonate with you? I know you come from a Baptist home, right? Was it a strict fundamentalist Baptist, or was it just kind of a Sunday and then we just forget about it for 7 days Baptist kind of thing?
No, both my parents were ordained Baptist ministers. My dad actually was a working minister and had big active churches. My mother was a preacher's wife, and she also became an ordained minister after my father died. So they were very religious, but they were American Baptists, or you might call them Northern Baptists. It was hard to pin my dad down on whether the miracles of the Bible ever really took place. He was not a fundamentalist at all. So therefore, it was very wishy-washy. He was, I guess, a moderate Baptist. He was not a fundamentalist. So I was raised that way. A lot of Bible study. I went to church, of course, every Sunday, and several times after that for prayer meetings and BYF, Baptist Youth Fellowship, and all that involved in the church until college. Then I went away to school in Ohio, to Davidson University, graduated from there. While I was there, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I loved my dad. I thought, well, maybe I'll be a minister. So in my sophomore year, I declared a philosophy major, sort of a pre-seminary major, thinking that maybe I'll be a minister and go to seminary after college. So the first two courses I took in philosophy, one was logic, and the other was a course in comparative religions. I studied the religions of the world. All these different philosophies, everybody's saying, we have the truth. We know what the deal is here with life. All these different gods, all these different dogmas, and then, of course, the course in logic. And the combination of these two courses made me start thinking, wait a minute, this is primitive superstition. All religions are primitive caveman superstitions created by uneducated people who are carried away with the awesomeness of this life. It is awesome, my goodness. And with the mysteries of life, which we just don't know. Human beings are trying to find out, but we don't know. So it was in college I began to think, wait a minute, religion is man-made and created out of fear of dying, fear of will the sun come back up? Will the wind stop blowing? Will the fire destroy my village? It's caveman superstition. And unfortunately, we can't get rid of it because you can't nail it down. You can't even, it's voodoo. It's all voodoo. And so that was my conclusion in college. And I dropped my major for that. And I realized that what I liked about the ministry was getting up in front of people and speaking, which was
now you're good at it.
It's really not a good reason to be a minister. So I became a theater arts major and graduated with a BA in theater arts and went on to Broadway and got my career started. So all through my life, I've wrestled with this religion thing and with the evangelists. Oh my goodness! And the Ted Cruzes and the Huckabees and the people who are saying that some God is leading them through life. Even Obama, whom I love so much, I admire President Obama so much. I think he's an incredible man. And has done incredible things. I think he will go down as an incredible president. But every time he says, God bless everyone here, God bless America, what does that mean? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
If God blesses Americans, does he not bless Canadians, Mexicans, and Europeans? Asking a blessing of a God, I know I'm going on too long here, but...
No, you're good.
Are you talking about the Christian God who says that Jesus is my son, apparently? Or are you talking about the Jewish God who says, no, this ain't it. The Messiah is still coming? Or are you talking about the Muslim God who says that Jesus was cool, but what about Muhammad and these other prophets? It can't be the same God. My mother used to say, basically, we all worship the same God. Well, she was wrong. I mean, I think she was wrong.
Yeah.
It can't be the same God. I read a wonderful book along the way by Karen Armstrong called The History of God. And it discusses how early man thought that the sun was God, the wind was a God, thunder was a God, rain was a God. And if you pay homage to these people, if you do certain things, it's all superstitious baloney. But if you do certain things, it will make the sun come back. It will make the wind stop. It will make the thunder happy. Early man had all these gods. Then the Jews came along and said, no, there's only one God. Then the Christians came on and said, no, it's God in three people, three in one. It's man's desire to control his atmosphere, his space, and it can't be controlled. Life is chaos. Religion, of course, has also been used by the Roman Empire to control people. We all know that as the Roman Empire was failing in 400 A.D., the emperor decided that it was going to be the Holy Roman Empire. They were going to adopt this Christianity that people were preaching out in the suburbs. We're going to make it the religion of state. And so the Roman Empire became the Holy Roman Empire and forced people to become Christian, or they killed them in the Inquisition. So that's what spread Christianity. It's outrageous what religion has done. It's the most intolerant thing. It's supposed to be preaching great tolerance.
I think this is great fodder for a daytime television talk show, John. I think we should look. I'm talking here with veteran television personality John Davidson. When you talked about the comparative religions class, I've always thought that was a great sort of, it's a great way to get in front of the monotheistic religions. I have a dear friend, Matt Dillahunty, who said, if you teach kids one religion, you indoctrinate them. If you teach them all religions, you inoculate them. And I always thought, what a great line. And I wondered, in your own circle, if you compared all the religions, is that was the moment you thought, well, wait a minute, they're all doing an interpretive dance to the same kind of song. Was that a big ticket for you?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Seth, that's very good. I'm going to remember that one. That's great. Yeah. I mean, I think anyone who becomes filled with awe and gets carried away with some religion, the first thing that those people should be told is, okay, so you want to add some spiritualness to your life. So before you settle on one way, study all the religions. Yeah, try to get them to open up. Now, this became very personal with me because my first daughter, I have three children, a boy and two girls. My first daughter came along, and with all my kids, with my first two kids, we never talked about religion. We just figured, my wife and I are not religious, we'll let them find their way. Well, I think I would not recommend that to parents, because then you don't give them any framework to be able to buffer or to be able to filter when religion comes along, when they find people preaching to them. They have no tools even to discuss philosophy of life. So when the person does nothing, you are doing something. You're laying your kids open to be vulnerable to someone coming along and saying, drink the Kool-Aid and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
We need to give our kids some tools of philosophy of life.
How did your mom and dad take the news that you were a skeptic, or did you ever tell them?
Well, I didn't confront my parents enough. When I would confront my father, I would say, come on, a man can't walk on water. Come on. No one can be born of a virgin. Study science. Carl Sagan, a candle in the dark. All we have in life, the only candle in the dark we have, is science, is the scientific method to say, can this be proven? We have to get real here. My dad would say, what does it matter if none of the miracles didn't happen? I said, what about the resurrection? Did Jesus come back? Really? A man walked around among, that's what the Bible says. And he said, what does it matter? And I said, because it matters, because the Bible then is all myths. If it's myths, then there's so many contradictions and so many things wrong with the Bible. But
that's strange talk for a minister. I mean, for a person who preaches the gospel to be so kind of casually, nebulous about the stories of Scripture. That's uncommon, especially in any kind of a Baptist faith.
Exactly. So I accused him of this, of being hypocritical. And he said, look, I'm trying to hold my church together. the church is doing good things, social work. The church, he pointed out some of the good things that the church does. And it has, with as far as social work and helping people, welfare thing. But he's got factions in his church. He's got fundamentalists and he's got progressives. So many Baptist churches have been torn apart over dogma. That you have the First Baptist, the Second Baptist, you have the Evangelical Baptist, the Born-Again Baptist, all this. He said, I'm trying to hold this church together. If I came out and really said the miracles are not true, my church would split. And I said, that you're not being truthful. And he said, sometimes it's better to take the middle road and hold things together. Don't rock the boat. And my dad was a very don't rock the boat kind of preacher. So I don't respect him for that. They're both gone now. But I don't respect him for that. But that's, you couldn't argue with my father because he would say, so what, if none of that was true, Jesus was still a great man. I said, that's fine. But you got a lot of people who take this stuff and get on school boards and say that you can't talk about evolution in schools. It's just happened a couple of years ago in Kansas. That's why we have to stand up, and that's why I said I am openly secular, because we have to say to the Ted Cruzes of the world, we have to say, no, that is not right. It's not realistic. It's not scientific. It's not the way to inspire kids, is to deny the facts of evolution.
John Davidson, you're a great communicator. Did you get some of that from your dad? You know, he's on the stage, he's behind the pulpit, he's probably able to put a phrase together. Did some of that come from him and being around a communicator, or was it something you were just always good at?
No, I was a very shy kid. I think I did gotten a lot of good things from my dad, and I think that did help me. My mother was a dramatic person. My dad was a stoic and was very non-emotional. My mother was very dramatic, could tell a great story, and so between the two of them, yeah, I think I did gain a lot from that. But then I was a student of theater arts, and I did a lot of study of dramatic interpretation. As a kid, I was very shy and couldn't speak in front of people at all. I was very, very much intimidated.
When they saw you on television, they must have just been insanely proud. I mean, they're calling their friends, John's on television tonight. That kind of thing happened?
Exactly. My mother, she would tell everybody, I'm John Davidson's mother. And it was embarrassing to me how much she would do that. She would try to get, free coupons and things because she was John Davidson.
Oh, she's dropping your name? Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, she was dropping my name all the time. But, they were very proud of me. They couldn't figure out how I was doing, how I had this freedom. But it was because of theater arts. And that's why I think it's so important to have theater in high schools and colleges. I think theater should be a required course, dramatic interpretation in high school, because no matter what business you're in, you have to present yourself. You have to tell a good story. Even if you're an IBM executive, it's great to have some dramatic interpretation.
What was that film with Richard Dreyfuss where he was a music teacher and they were eliminating the arts programs for budgetary reasons, and they wanted to...
Opus something.
Yes, Mr. Holland's Opus. And I think the line in the film was, they need to be able to read and write. And his argument was, well, if you eliminate the arts, there will be nothing to read and write about. And I kind of take that larger point of it's a much more critical thing than many people think it is.
That's right.
So you're featured in a video on Openly Secular where you just say it outright, look, this is all a myth. It's time for us to move on. I want everyone to know kind of where I'm at. What prompted that at this chapter in your life? You decided to just put your face and voice out there.
Over the years, I've said things like that, but I just, as I've gone forward in my life, I keep thinking that it can't be that religion can't really take over government, and that an intelligent person can't really say, oh, God told me to do this, some God, or if you do that, you will go to hell or heaven. And people are still, I'm 73 now, and year after year I think they can't still believe that there's a heaven and a hell. Intelligent people can't believe that. You just can't. Where do you get that? Where is the science for that? And if you're denying science, I keep thinking it can't be. But the truth is, it is. More than 50% of our country believes that the world was created, they say they do, approximately 10,000 years ago, that it just was created, boom, like it is today, as it is today. And I'm astounded. I keep slapping my forehead saying, come on. So finally, I found this organization. I said, there must be other people that agree with me. I found Openly Secular on the internet. And I called them and I said, I'd like to be a part of this. I think we all need to make a line in the sand and say, I don't believe in voodoo. I don't believe in superstition. And I don't want the word atheist to stop me from getting a job, and as it does in many communities, or to alienate me from society. I'm an atheist in that I am an atheist. I am anti-theism. Now, I'm not an atheist because I know that there's no God. Nobody can know that. So that's not what I'm saying. I can't prove there's no God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying I'm an atheist because I'm an anti-theist. I'm an anti-theism. And I think it's high time to come. I wish I'd done this years ago. I didn't think it was necessary to do this. But when religious people get on school boards and say that evolution is not a fact, I mean, the theory of evolution is as proven as the theory of electricity. They've never seen, literally, electricity. It's a theory that has been proven. Evolution, there's so much proof for evolution, and all of Europe is laughing at America because we still are debating evolution. It says a lot that on the dollar bill, we say, in God we trust. On the British pound, there's a picture of Darwin. Oh my God. I love that. And I'm sort of ashamed is too strong a word, but we trust a lot more things. I trust a lot more things than God. Now, science doesn't get it right, but science is the only thing that is working on trying to figure out these mysteries. If a little kid says to his dad, why is the sky blue? And if he's a religious fundamentalist, he says, well, little Johnny, because God made it blue. The discussion is over. There's no discussion. But if the parent says, let's go find out. Let's Google that. Let's go to the encyclopedia, whatever. Let's see why is the sky blue. Then there's discussion. There is growth. There is inspiration. If a young kid says, I feel like I'm gay. I feel like I'm homosexual. And the parent says, no, you must not be gay because the Bible says that man should not sleep with man, or whatever it says. I don't know what the Bible says on it, but they say that the Bible says that you cannot be homosexual. Well, then there's no discussion. But the little kid says, but I feel these things. I feel these attractions. So, no, you can't feel that because the Bible says that. Come on. I mean, the scientific way, the imperial method, is to try to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I like that. I'm more curious than that. I like being a skeptic. A doubting Thomas is a great thing. It should not be criticized.
One thing I really like about the Openly Secular campaign, and openlysecular.org is the website, by the way, is it's just universally positive. Right? I mean, I know we have to destroy the false to make room for the true. I understand that that's a necessary part of what we need to be about, right? We have to debunk the bad ideas in order to make more room for all the good ideas and the ones that are supported by the evidence. But Openly Secular is really a positive site. It's, my life is good. I discover the world anew every day. I'm free. I'm no longer filled with shame and guilt. And you see all these sort of stories from individuals and couples, and it actually makes you feel so good when you hear those types of things.
You make a very good point, Seth, and I should hasten to add to what I just said. Yeah, the openly secular movement does not say drop your religion. It just says accept my way of life as being okay. I go further than openly secular by saying voodoo is killing people, voodoo is causing wars, and voodoo is not raising our kids properly. But the openly secular movement, yes, is very positive and saying that it's okay for people to have these religions.
It's just a platform for you to positively say, look, I'm secular and it's okay. I'm still the same person you've always known. I'm still a good person. I just want you to know I am a secular individual. It's just a positive way of presenting the information.
You're exactly right.
I'm going to include the link to your openly secular video in the description box of this broadcast in case anybody would like to go and look at it individually, because I think it's just terrific. And the website is openlysecular.org. John Davidson, now, I know recently you were on stage, you were doing some Broadway, you were in Wicked, is that right?
Yes, I'm in it right now. I do a show tonight. This is my third contract playing the Wizard of Oz, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
I mean, who gets to do that for a living? You are the Wizard of Oz, man. That's just awesome.
Yeah, I do love it. I do love it. People who know Wicked know that it's not the star of the show. Wicked is all about the witches.
Yeah.
But it's not a large part, but they certainly talk about me a lot. And I have two wonderful scenes and two songs to sing, first and second act. So, yeah, for the last 2 years, I've been the wizard in the national tour. I've not played the Broadway version, maybe someday, but I love touring. My wife tours with me, and I have a cat, and we have to find pet-friendly hotels for the cat. Yeah, we're just on the road now. I still do my concerts. I do my one-nighters. Basically find audiences that are over 45. Because those are the people that remember my television career. So
I've got my hand in the air. Yeah, right now. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm there.
I sing with my guitar. I love singing with my guitar. I write a lot of original songs, and I sing a lot of 50s and folk and country songs.
What's your website? Do you have a place, a landing zone for people who want to go find out more?
Yeah, it's not hard to remember. It's called johndavidson.com.
Got it.
It has my schedule on there, and it's an international fan club that was started 25 years ago by a Canadian couple, and it's kept very up to date, and everything's there at johndavidson.com.
It's a gutsy thing for a public figure to come forward and openly challenge religious belief. And I think it encourages people, it emboldens people, and reminds them that they are not alone in doubting much of this stuff. And what you have done brings so much value. So thank you. Thanks for doing that video. Just a few minutes, but I mean, I think people who watch that will walk away thinking, I may not be broken after all, or there's not necessarily something wrong with me if we're not believing in voodoo, which is, by the way, a term I think I'm going to be using more and more in everyday conversation because it just sort of sums it up, right? It's voodoo. And so thank you for taking that stand and for helping to encourage so many people out there. It's awesome.
Well, Seth, thanks for all the time you've given me here. I really appreciate what your show is doing. And, boy, just keep doing it. I think it's so necessary. And I really appreciate this talk that we've had. All the best.
Now that the broadcast is over, you can log on and get your free snacks at our show's sponsor. You can go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. Browse the over 100 healthy and delicious snacks, and you can start your free trial tonight, so you can just check them out for yourself. naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. And I will see you next week.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter. Watch dozens of original videos on the Thinking Atheist YouTube channel. And visit our website for resources, links, contact information, the editor's blog, and more. thethinkingatheist.com.